And now I would like to welcome Paweł Chmieliński, who is Associate Professor at Department of European Integration at the Institute of Rural and Agricultural Development of Polish Academy of Science. And Paweł will bring us more knowledge towards value chains in food system. The floor is yours, Paweł. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for invitation. This is a pleasure and great honor to take part in these workshops. My role in these workshops is to bring a more systemic, like general overview on the value chain. So what do we do? Discuss today to put it in a more general picture of the food systems of the value chains. So let's start with this small agenda description. I will talk about briefly about the food system and the value chains, where they compose, and how do we consider them as a topic for the investigation. And I will talk a bit about the sustainable food systems, and like what is the sustainability in the food system, how is it organized, and then about the actors' governance and the problems with the public policy, what was already mentioned by the few colleagues today, that those systemic approach should also rely on a well-designed public policy, and this is the key issue for the development of the food systems. And also, this is also the basis for the success of the approach that we promote within also the biorural and the different topics. I'm a researcher I'm dealing mostly with the food systems and the public policy, also rural communities. So like this all makes the broader picture of this. So let's start with the food systems and the sustainability. And the first question is like the why food systems, and why the systemic approach to the food systems. Put it back, sorry. All right. Why systemic approach? This is because we do we think about the systems approach as like they were defined in the early 50s. So the systems. Sorry, I have some issue that would like to put additional. Sorry, once again I have to because like something happened with the presentation. So I will yeah, here we are. So again, how do we think about the food systems? This is like the systemic approach that was designed and like explored in the 50s of the last century. Of course, we know that the approach of a general systems theory and Ludwig von Bertalanffy, which was precursor of this approach, and we use it also to the analysis of the open systems, which is like the social, economic, and environmental system is one of the open systems. Why we do this? Because we try to understand and create the good institutional foundations for the development. So like how to support this green transition and the changes, how to shape the public policies, and face all the challenges we have right now. So like also the demographic and like the climate change and the environmental aspects, but also like the different bases for the development of the food sectors in the different countries and the EU as a whole. So this is the matter of the vision of the rural and agricultural development that is discussed in the EU, and with the perspective for the 2030 and 2050 and even later, because we are getting closer to 2030, so we try to see the broader perspective. And this is also like the strategic work that is done in each of the country of member states in the EU, also in Poland, which I represent, but also in the different macro regions. For example, I work with the researchers and the ministries in the Central Eastern Europe through the BioRIS initiative. So there, in each of the country, there is like the attempt to create the successful strategy for the transformation to the green transformation. And finally, this is the extremely interesting topic for the contemporary understand of the society, rural change. So this is also the nice topic for the scientists, very much attached to what's going on right now. So when we talk about the food systems, let's start with the food systems. They are made up of the individual and their activities. So these are like the people in the different parts of the value chain that are having a great role in the growing, transporting, delivering, and consuming the food. So this is the system. And what is the very important issue related to the food systems is that that not only like the food systems is not like the closed system, but is open to the other influences of the other sector systems that coincident and work together. So to consider the food systems, we try to consider like in the broader picture even. And at the same time, when we consider the value chain and the food value chain, this is like defined as the strategic alliance between farmers and the other supply chains partners. So they try together to deal with the production of the food and like the quality, the distribution patterns and like the distribution channels across the chain. So those alliances are because the actors in those alliances, they recognize that the maximum value for products depends on the independence, collaboration, and the mutual support. So like the cooperation is one of the key issues for the sustainable food value chain. And of course, this is concerning also the other economic concerns, so social and environmental, but also with the strong communication side of this of the value chain organization. So what are the values in the food chain? They're related to the different business practices and those rules that are in the business practices. Like the food value chains is based on the accountability, the long-term commitments. So those alliances that are perceived not for the short-term profit, but the long-term cooperation and like the value creation. And then open and ongoing communication, which is very important for the fair distribution of the roles within the value chain, and of course the transparency, so that none of the actor in the value chain is using the power to influence the other actors. Of course, there are the different other values that are represented by the food chain. So, for example, social and environmental, such as like local economy and the role of chains in this development, like on the local ecosystems. Of course, preserving farmland, animal welfare, and all those aspects that we are discussing today in a different presentations in detail. And the food systems is like coming back to the definition of the food systems. There are actors and the interlinked value-adding activities. So those value-adding activities are important because they are also not like the important for the closed systems or the value chain. So like for the production, aggregation, processing, distribution, and the consumption of the food, but also they influence the different subsystems. So like different systems that are related to the food systems. For example, waste management system, input supply system, as I already mentioned, like the rural local system, and also they interact with the other system, which is, for example, education system, energy, trade, health, and so on. So this is like the picture how the complex the food systems we define are from the perspective on the understanding the single role of the farmer or the single role of the consumer, and then like the organization of the value chain, like the food chain in the contemporary world. So we have like food supply chains, but also the everything what is creating the food environments. And these are individual factors that are creating, for example, the demand for food, but also they are attached to our behavior, like to our culture, which is very, very important. And in the end, there is those related to the health, like diets. So the sustainable food systems is the food systems that is having all this in mind, but the most important feature of the sustainability is that it aims to provide a food for the future generations, for our children, with minimal negative environmental impact. So this is like all the practices we try to promote. And when we see the actors and the different roles in the value chain, these are related to all those four the main elements of the food system and the value chain, which are the producers, processors, distributors, and the consumers, and have a different role. As we see, like the producers, they have to be attached in the research and the development. This is like this is now like the very important issue that goes from the society to the producers, so they have to gain in the from the achievements of the science and the technological progress. The processors, they have the different roles in this value chain. And if we see the different roles that are attached to the different issues that we define in each of the part of the value chain, we see that we see the some challenges that we have to consider when we analyze the whole approach to the food systems. So, like for example, for the consumers, there are the food prices, the issue of the food security, like the availability, when we talk about the global aspects, but also the very important food safety and the personal issues that are health and wellness. But these are not only personal issues, because when we see in the fifth element, which is government, and all the regulations, all the institutions we create to manage the system, we see that the health and the wellness is also attached to the public policy and the general economy. So the public health is the issue. So the food systems and those sustainable approach to food systems is directly influencing the public health policy and the expenditures and so on. So this is the roles and the state of the play in the value chain. To conclude, the issue of the sustainability in the food systems is to see if this system is profitable, it brings the benefits to the society, and has positive impact to the environment. And of course, as I mentioned, and I will not extend this part about the food system impacts, they are also related to the key indicators, key measures that can influence the transition in the food system, which are the approaches and the consumption patterns, for example, of the consumers. And also the food systems impacts are, of course, related to the different sustainable dimensions. Of course, to understand this complexity, there is like the good pictures to show the how is the interdependencies within the economy and like the social, environmental, and economic system that is influencing the food production and the food consumption and the whole the value chain. And that like the most important are to understand the trade-offs between those three dimensions of the sustainability. So, for example, when we have a trade-offs, so some value chain development projects, for example, may deliver the economic benefits, such as improved profits and job creation. But at the same time, they can have negative environmental impacts, such as like the changes in the land use, and for example, like the increased conversion of the forest land to agriculture. Do we understand those processes? Yes, we do. But not always we connect it to those farming processes, like the farming incomes, and the need to understand how is the policy designed. Yeah. At the same time, when we introduce the food value chain interventions that have a priority on the environmental elements, such as reduction of the carbon emissions, like the reduced fertilizer use and so on, then can have very good environmental effect, but at the same time negative economic impact. For example, reduction of farmers' profits, of potential job losses, and so on. So they can also bring the negative social outcomes. For example, a willingness to accept those introduction of non-traditional foods, yeah, like the practices. And so we can have problems as we face right now with the farmers, for example. So like the whole approach in the climate smart agriculture in the interventions is based to minimize trade-offs and the captures synergies, as is shown in all this picture. The other approach which can bring us a better understanding of the food systems is like to place it in the bigger processes, which is transformations of a economy into the bioeconomy. So those food systems are part of the bioeconomy, and those process of the transformation from the food systems into sustainable food systems and the economy to the bioeconomy is driven by the public policy instruments and like all the social processes that we face in our societies, like public awareness. So when we base on the definitions of a bioeconomy that encompasses all the sectors that rely on the biological resources. But for me, from my perspective, the most important is that all economic and industrial sectors, they use biological resources and processes to produce everything in the economy. So this is the end product of the bioeconomy transition, that whole the economy will be based on the biological resources when they require the materials right now used for example, as the outcomes of the fossil fuels and so on. So this brings also the new role of the agriculture. Yeah, so we have a change in the paradigm. So traditionally perceived agriculture economics are replaced by the more systemic approach and the sustainable food systems, which is giving the new role of agriculture for in the whole economy. Yeah, so it's not only the food production, but this is the waste management, biomass production, but also production space management, so like the landscape management, and also, and the most important, the overall ecosystem management. This is important when we design the policy, and this is important when we communicate the policy. Yeah, so like so this is the change of the traditional model of the agriculture, and this is something that is happening right now and will not be stopped, even if we face some problems, social problems, and the protests. So the most important in this process is like to well understand the interlinkages in the system. So when we look at the Green Deal, of course, we had a very ambitious strategy to related to the food production, protection of the biodiversity, climate objectives, and like the energy production, emissions, and so on. And also like the bio-based materials and products, which is very important for the future food systems development. So the Green Deal is making a path and ambitious goals that maybe they cannot be achieved, as a farm to fork goals are really hard to achieve, but they are giving us a picture what we are heading, like where's the end of the product of the transformation. But also like we face on the way the challenges for the public policy, which is like the well prepared evaluation of environmental services of agriculture, of farming, and putting it into the system of the common agriculture policy, and how to communicate it to the farmers, like for example. So, and also not only the farmers but also the society, the consumers, that part of the, and like the most of the common agriculture policy, these are the support for this transformation, not only of the agriculture but the whole economy. So like the second is the consolidation of activities, and then like trying to explore the Europe's privileged position and wealth. So like our impact on the other parts of the world, to show the good example and try to scale up the approach that we have problems right now, but we hope to succeed in the Europe as a whole. And how do we succeed in achieving the New Deal? To sum up, one and first, very important, which are not mentioned, but like it's a basis for this transformation, is like the new technologies, digitization, and like robotics, and all the technologies that are resource efficient, labor efficient, when we took and the demographic problems, and also precisely adapted to the local characteristics, tested and disseminated. And then collaboration and integration of all actors, but not only from the food chain, but also with the science, health, and the economy. And the third thing is like to use the outcomes of the science, so like the science and the expertise. These are the most important for the transformation, and like the setting the scene and the changing the whole ecosystem for the sustainable food systems and bioeconomy. And the last slide, this is the very difficult road that we are heading, but we hope to have a well-designed institutional backgrounds to make this happen. And there is a problem like that, the very nowadays rise problems of if it's still the utopia, because like the global neoliberalism is still a very strong force. The big concentration of resources and the funds is not helping to introduce the transformation, but like because like the European integration processes are so extremely important to make it happen and make it successful. Thank you very much.